everybody. I've done a follow David's day at work at the St. Mary's Aquatic Center pool. Then I did one for working at the marina downtown here. So I figured I'd do one. It was time to do one for my job with Molly's Old South Tours, where I'm a tour guide over on Cumberland Island and in the historic downtown area. So join me today. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Right now we're boarding the ferry. It's about a 45-minute ride over to Cumberland Island. And here we got this guy. Wave hi to everybody. Okay, on the ferry now. And so this schedule right now is the second morning one. So we're going over at 11:45. There was an earlier one at 9 o'clock. They skipped the 2:45 return, and so we're not going to be returning till 4:45 now. But we've got campers on the boat. We've got people wanting to ride their bikes over there on the island, and there's all the camping stuff. All right. And now we are leaving the dock, and it's got a full boat. A lot of people going over to Cumberland Island today.
I told you be careful. Next time you walk backward. They are fast, aren't they?
My God.
They are fast.
So usually if I'm talking to people on the tours on the boat before we get to Cumberland Island, which technically the tour starts when we get to Cumberland Island, but if I find them on the boat beforehand, I always tell them about things like Florida, Georgia, international border, St. Mary's River, going out Fort Clinch, and then Cumberland Island, and then the sub base with the sub hangars. I know out to you guys real quick. Okay, so we've got Fort Clinch, Florida over there with the paper mills in Fernandina. That's the channel that goes out to the Atlantic Ocean. That's the very southern tip of Cumberland Island. And then that's all Cumberland Island over there going north. And then over here, you've got the submarine base with the hangars right there. And then St. Mary's. Okay, we're getting off at the first dock, which is kind of considered the Dungeness dock, or the Ice House dock as it's officially called. There's a second dock right there. That's the Sea Camp dock, and that's where the ferry will also pick you up. So either 4:30 over there, 4:30 over here. But we are getting off this one because it's closest to the ruins. Okay, well, now we're tied up, and now I'm gonna go meet my four people. And my tour actually starts right here at that signpost right there. Okay, this is where I usually meet my people. We just got off the dock right there. And then the ferry went on to the next dock, and that's where it's going to stay till it's time to go home. The sheriff keeps his boat here. There's no public docking right here, but there is at that end. Your boat's limited to 25 feet though. Anyway, I talk about this sign and the Timucuan Indians, and that is the Ice House Museum, and that just reopened yesterday. So I'm excited to see that today after I'm done with this tour. Okay, everybody, this is a little bit of a weird video because I started off filming a day in the life of David, the tour guide. Since then, I picked up this other job working on the ferry itself. But I still want to finish this video about what I cover when I'm doing tours on Cumberland Island. So let's get back on track and knock that out today while we're waiting for the ferry to leave at 4:30. Hey everybody, this is called Main Road. It's been called this for the longest time. It goes from north to south. It kind of ends at Dungeness Ruins, which is that way. It goes all the way up to the north end of the island. And this would have been used by the Timucuan and the Yamacraw Indian tribes, I'm sure. Then later the French and the Spanish that came. Then the English, and then during the Revolutionary War. Immediately after the Revolutionary War, getting into the Civil War, this road would have been used. Okay, off of Main Road, when you just get off at the Dungeness docks, we've got this cemetery right here, and this is the Carnegie family cemetery, and is still maintained by descendants of the Carnegie family. There are a couple of older signs, maybe made by the Park Service right there, newer signs by the Park Service right here. But then this one is definitely family made. And it's just a barbed wire storm fence. And while the land is technically the Park Service's, the cemetery is still private property to the Carnegies, and even the Park Service does not go in there. There's not even any good records of who is in there, or what it looks like. As a tour guide, I would be fascinated to jump the fence or go over there and somehow see it. I've researched everywhere. I can't find anything in Google, YouTube. I'm not about to risk my job, and definitely I respect the privacy of the Carnegie family, and I wouldn't trespass anyway. But I did look at Google Earth, and there's an aerial view which kind of shows the clearing that's back in there. And let me drop a picture of that right now. So anyway, you got the Carnegie family with tons of money, and I always kind of point out that it's very interesting to see there's no tabby fence or marble pillars, stone of any sort, iron, wrought iron works. It's very, very basic. Okay, it's up to the intersection of Main Road and the road that leads to the ice house dock that I brought everybody up to speed. I've talked about the live oak trees, Spanish moss, resurrection fern. I've talked about the history of the Timucuan, the Yamacraw Indians, with the French coming, the Spanish coming, the English coming, young Tuna Howie and Tombochichi going over to England to meet the king, the Gold Watch story, how Cumberland Island got its name, how Dungeness got its name. And then I talk about this, which is electricity, a very old electrical box. And the history about how the developer brought electricity to the island, and it didn't really work out for him, but it did bring electricity to the island. Now we'll see some really cool stuff. Okay, at this point, since I brought everybody up to speed to the Carnegie family, I start talking about them. I talk about how the visitors that would have come to the island to be entertained or to recreate in would have been picked up in any manner, form of transportation, whether it was horse-drawn carriage or regular automobile or even electrical vehicles. They would have been met at the dock with their baggage and then driven to the main Carnegie mansion, which is called Dungeness. That's right here. But imagine they come from the ferry to the main road, pardon me, that would be called Grand Avenue, turn right, and then they come up on these gates and see this wrought iron gate with the stonework that I kind of would have expected to be around the family cemetery. But they would have been witness to this mansion just opening up in front of them and just being wowed. And that's what the family kind of wanted to do for their guests. So we talk about the mansion, talk about the history of it being built, northern design, northern architecture, northern materials coming here, and talk about the different stages from Lucy and Thomas living in it, and subsequently the burning of it, what happened to all the belongings inside of it, and then just kind of talk about the rest of the grounds. But you'll see we've got just beautiful grounds. This is 14 acres cleared by Katie Green with Phineas Green, Nathaniel Green's widow, Phineas Miller. So they cleared all this land. And over here would be the polo fields. Okay, we're gonna see if my little buddy's here. Not too many people know about this, but I point this out to people on my tours. But this is the carriage stone right here. But mostly it's, what I want to show you is, yep, right there. See that? Great horned owl nesting there. Okay, so this would be the polo fields that I talk about. We've got some horses over there. Beyond the horses is the duck pond, and then the house, one of the mansions that was built for the Carnegie children called the Cottage. Over here, this is called the Tabby House. This is the oldest structure on the island. It's actually made out of tabby, but they put a facade on front of it. The Carnegies lived in this as they were building the mansion. After they moved into the mansion, this was used by the property owner, William Pratt. And so I kind of talk about his history of being the tutor to the kids who became the property manager. And he and his wife are the only non-Carnegies that I'm aware of that are in the Carnegie family cemetery. So anyway, we're gonna keep moving and show you what I keep talking about. This is all high level, just points of interest. I'm not going over the whole detail, which is actually very fascinating and entertaining. So definitely sign up for a tour if you want. Okay, on this side of the mansion, I point out the beams, the I-beams that are up in place, and the stabilization efforts made by the Park Service to preserve this, but we kind of go into more detail about that. On this side of the tabby house, this is where I show that it truly is made out of tabby because of the damage in that corner right there. You can see the tabby underneath it. Talk about the formal gardens, the landscaping, which would have been crushed oyster shell pathways, topiary hedges with archways cut out of them. All this land was cleared. It would have been just like the brush and wild that you normally see at Cumberland. But the horses are out today, which is just beautiful. Okay, there's some really nice signage that the parks have put together here. This one I really like is because it shows what it looked like had it been in place. It actually even shows when it was finished with Thomas Carnegie. But then when he died, his wife Lucy definitely improved on the structure, adding a wing and castle blocking and tabby, as well as like a widow's walk around the upper deck up there. Sadly, it did burn, but this is a great view for sure. Okay, on the back side of the mansion grounds, I talk about the greenhouse, which is over there, and how they were self-sufficient as much as possible. Talk about the marsh out there, the water wheel, which was purely ornamental, along with a sundial that was down there, including the fountain right here. But there's a great photo. Let me incorporate that here from this view over here. Imagine standing in the same spot and you're looking through a giant topiary hedge at this fountain with the steps to the mansion behind it and the crushed oyster path around it. So what we got here is this is the recreation building. This is what it would have looked like. I point out the water tower, which was used solely for the elevator. But very cool graphic showing that there was a gun room, doctor's office, billiards, pool, squash court, apartments for them. And what's really cool is the background of this picture shows the swimming pool area with swinging apparatus, ropes with knots, and a ladder. And the Carnegie boys would kind of bet their friends that they couldn't get across the swimming pool from one end to the other without falling in, and they'd kind of be known to like grease up the handles of one of these in the middle or something. But very neat picture. But the structure itself is kind of fun to walk up to because the Park Service cleared all the collapsed structure that was on top of it back in the 90s. So again, we've got the doctor's office right here. Got the gun room right there, which probably would have held all kinds of rifles, shotguns, pistols, ammunition. When you walk in, this would have been the billiard room. You can see where the ground level is. Then you're getting to the swimming pool. The swimming pool I love talking about because of my background with swimming pools. This would not have been a filter room per se, but it was pumps to pump in fresh water and pump out the dirty water. It was not chemicalized or treated chemically, but it was heated. And then the swimming pool itself, I really like because it's got the same tile steps that would have been used. And you just wonder who stepped right here. In the back area, I point out the squash court, and the recreation building where kind of the bachelors partied. Okay, anytime you see this crushed oyster shell, it almost like, that looks like it's a pathway. And that's because it was a pathway. It just crisscrossed the grounds here. And then now it's just kind of going back to nature. But let's go check out their private dock real quick. And there's something really special that I talk about. Okay, this road leads down to the dock. And this is definitely reinforced with cement and brick. And that was because they used this point to bring all the materials to build Dungeness as we knew it today with the Carnegie family. And so what I noticed here was paw prints. 1, 2 paw prints, kind of like what I've got. And then I heard that near those paw prints was a pet cemetery. And so I talk about the pet cemetery that's hidden very nearby here. I won't point it out as here, but it's very neat to see the headstones, which are actually made of metal, and talk about their 2 dogs that were good dogs in the years that they were buried. But anyway, I want you to sign up for the tour so I can show you the actual headstones. Okay, then I bring everybody down here. This is silted in immensely. We're not even at low tide yet, and there's no way you could get a boat through here. But back in the day, Lucy Carnegie kept her steam yacht here tied up. And you can see that this boat dock was started in 1890. That's kind of when they started building the mansion, and was used in 1905. It was used even after that point. But talk about what happened to her steam yacht with it being sunk out here. So sign up for the tour, learn about that story. Okay, let me take you over to this house that I talk about. It's just adjacent to the recreation building and then the Dungeness mansion over there. But this was built for William Pratt, who was the kids' tutor at one point. When they grew up, they didn't need tutoring, and Lucy Carnegie needed somebody to run the property. She asked him to do it, and they trusted him, and she built this for him. And what was really cool is that when she died, he was forgiven any debt on this house, and he was allowed to live here until he died with his wife. And they are the 2 people that are buried in the Carnegie family cemetery that are not Carnegies. But you can see the elevator for his wife to get upstairs, and the same wallpaper that's over there at Plum Orchard. Here I talk about the foundations for the water tower, which was used solely just to operate the elevator in the Dungeness mansion. And then we head this way, and everything from the Grange house, that's what that's called, where William Pratt was, is considered kind of Lucy's village, Lucy Carnegie's village. It's where all the work was done. You would have had your dairy barn and your poultry and the pigs. The horses would have been kept back here. The laundry was being done. And so over there, that's the laundry room. Imagine how much laundry would have had to have been done with all the table linens, clothing of the guests, the family, all the bedroom linens. But we keep going here after a bathroom break and a lunch, and we're moving more to the where the workers were. And there could have been 200 workers here when the family was actually on the island. Yeah, this would be the carriage house where they would have kept maybe the specialized horses. The Carnegie family had about 20 to 50 of their own thoroughbred horses, you know, Tennessee Walkers, Appaloosas, Arabian Stallions, Polo ponies. But they also kept the carriages and the cars in this house, along with the employees living upstairs. But I like to point out this tree right here. It's actually 2 trees, and it's like they're embracing. You've got a live oak tree hugging a palm tree, and it actually is giving a hug all the way around it. So I think the live oak will win in a contest against it. we go down this road, which talks about, so the laundry house is over here to the left, but then we've got the 4 barracks for the segregated workers, men, women, black and white. And then we continue on down this way. Okay, then I like talking about this. This is the powerhouse. This would have been where the generators were mounted on top of these pedestals with the rod sticking out of them. They would have been bolted down to that, and that's what supplied electricity to Dungeness and other areas of the island as far as it could reach, but that was direct current. But what's more exciting to talk about is this over here. That's the Ice House Foundation. And you know, it was one thing to dig a hole in the ground and cut a block of ice and put it down in there and cover it with straw, and hopefully it'll last through the summer. This was different than that. This actually created ice. And so imagine, you know, you're serving your shrimp cocktail or oysters on a tray of ice, or putting ice cubes in your mint juleps or iced teas and lemonades. And that was definitely a sign of being rich. But now we're gonna continue on here. Okay, one of the things you get on a tour guide experience that you don't really get anywhere else is little ins and outs of what's around, like the barn owl that I showed you. One thing here at this water fountain, which uses the water from the underground water table, is there used to be a little frog that lived right here. And I would add a little bit of water there just in case he was thirsty. So if he's there, let me do that right now. There we go. Happy little frog. Here down by the Green Miller Cemetery, I point out in the distance, you see the start of the sand dunes. It's mostly a flat island around, but then when you get to the east side, the shore side, you'll see the sand dunes kind of rising up out of the ground, and you could even hear the ocean on the other side of them on a still day. The foundation that you see over there is the foundation from the dairy farm. It's not uncommon to see wild turkey over in this area. But what I do is, kind of at the end of the 2-hour tour, roughly, bring them to the cemetery here. But before we get there, I ask everybody to guess what this pad was, and the 2 little stone structures just beyond it. I ask everybody on the tour to kind of guess what this area was used for. With it being near a cemetery, a lot of guesses were involved the cemetery, but that is actually not true. I've heard all kinds of things, but then maybe a church foundation, but that's not the case. I hear all kinds of theories, which is kind of fun to listen to. I'm not going to tell you all what it is because I like everybody to guess, and then I'll tell you on the tour. But here, in relationship to that pad back there, are these 2 tubs. And these tubs had running water to them. You can see the plumbing right there. And what they would have been used for in conjunction with that pad right there. So if you have any guesses, drop them in the comments below or join my tour. But now we're going to the cemetery. Okay, in my mind, this is a cemetery where I would rather be buried at than the Carnegie one that's in the middle of the woods. I mean, look at this view that you have. But anyway, in this one, I talk about Catherine Green and their daughter Louisa. And then in relationship to Henry Lee Lighthorse, which was Robert E. Lee's father. And then talk about Robert E. Lee coming to the island. And then I love talking about this couple right here. But this is a very interesting one. This is like the people that sold the island to the Carnegies, and talk about the death of his son, which he was only 5 years old. And then he died very shortly after that. And so I talk about that, which is tragic. There's a lot of tragedy here on the island for men, particularly, and fires. And this island seems to really do well for strong women. I don't know if it creates strong women or just attracts strong women, but there's a big history of strong women here on this island. I'm going to talk about these. And then I usually end the tour talking about this couple right here, which gets some fascinating discussions. You've got Catherine Rickart, who was born in Alsace, France, and her husband, John Rickart, who was born in Switzerland. He died first somewhere else. Then when she died, and she was buried here, which is quite an honor to be attached to the cemetery, he was brought from wherever he was to lay next to her. But on hers, it says, erected by the family of Thomas Carnegie an affectionate memory of faithful and loyal service during many years. But in the sign over there, it says that she was hired as a housekeeper, and then she ended her service as the poultry manager over here on the farm side. So, you know, they didn't get the distinction of being able to be buried in the Carnegie Family Cemetery like William Page did, but they got this special location. And would they really just give this special location to somebody that was the poultry manager and a housekeeper? So there might be something more to her, and I enjoy hearing what my people guess that to be. And I don't know what the right answer is, but that's pretty much my tour. I take everybody back through the barracks area, and I talk about shark's teeth, and I talk about the shenanigans that the Carnegie children might have gotten up to. I talk about all kinds of history. I tell everybody there's no written test. The information can go in one ear and right out the other ear, but everybody will come away with a greater appreciation and feeling about how magical Cumberland Island is. Well, that's my tour. Feel free to leave a tip. Okay, coming back over here to this side, I do one more talk about Dungeness, but I point out this over here, which was the children's playhouse. That's the chimney and the fireplace. But there would have been miniature tables, miniature chairs, all kinds of toys in there for the children to play in. But I bring everybody back here because what I want to show everyone is the water cistern that was built for the mansion was not really needed. The underground water pressure was able to accommodate any of the household needs, showers, sinks, filling the pool, that kind of thing. And so other than the elevator, which needed the water tower. But so the cistern that was designed and put here, when they found out they didn't need it, they turned it into the underground wine cellar. And so that's a freebie that I'll give you guys. But that's what that is right there, the big round thing. So imagine going down inside that for your booze. We talk about all the foliage here, how it would have been decorated with the different types of ivy. There's a good view of it right there. We come over here and we feel this wall right here. It's a great example of it. Designed to help cool the structure down. Definitely not native to the island. It's about this point that I head back to the dock, and I usually look for shark's teeth on the ground. But that's my day in the life as a tour guide with Molly's Old South Tours. Look her up, sign up. If it's not me giving you a tour, it's going to be somebody else who's just as awesome, if not more awesome, giving you a tour. All right, farewell from Cumberland Island. Let's go catch a ferry. They can't leave without me because I work on a ferry.